Hi there, and welcome to this day in history for December 14th. December 14th is the 348th day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 349th in leap years, with 17 days remaining to the end of the year. The other day, the term red herring came up, so let's talk about that one. We'll go literal first and then talk about the alternate meaning of red herring. Red, of course, is a color, and herring is a type of fish that are what is known as a forage fish. This means that they're prey fish or might be used as bait fish to catch larger fish. Bait fish typically school up in large groups, and they do this in order to increase their chances of survival. Size-wise, herrings themselves tend to be about in the middle of the size range of these schooling bait fish, with a typical length of about a foot long, 30 centimeters, as compared to anchovies, which are typically about 6 inches or 15 centimeters or less in length, or shad, which are often around 2 feet in length, 50 to 62 centimeters. Red herring is a herring that is cured by salting and slow smoking to a dark brown color. But in regard to the use and definition of what we're looking for today, wherein red herring refers to a distraction that actually has nothing to do with the matter at hand, the story is that fugitives would drag a red herring across the trail to confuse the bloodhounds that were tracking them. First known use in that context is in about the 1680s. From this practice arose the metaphoric sense of the term red herring, where it came to mean something used to divert attention from the basic issue or a false lead. First known use of the term red herring in this context is in the 1860s. The origin of the term herring is somewhat unclear. It could either come from an Old English word that meant gray or frosty in appearance, or from an Old High German word that meant a host or multitude, in reference to the large schools in which these fish move. Red herring. Always remember that if you have a word you'd like us to put under this figurative microscope to examine, drop it in the comments. We'll take a look at it. And with that, Alabama became the 22nd U.S. state on December 14, 1819. Alabama's capital is Montgomery, its largest city is Huntsville, and its oldest city is Mobile. Alabama is the 30th largest by area, 24th most populous state. Alabama's nicknames are Heart of Dixie and the Cotton State, or the Yellowhammer State, after its state bird, the yellowhammer, which is a northern flicker, which is a medium-sized woodpecker. Alabama is where the Selma to Montgomery March took place in the 1960s, making Alabama a focal point in the civil rights movement. NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center is located in Alabama, near Huntsville. Alabama's name comes from Native American Alabama people who lived in the area. The meaning of the name Alabama is occasionally debated and most likely means something like clearers of the thicket or herb gatherers. Some have proposed that it may mean here we rest, but experts in the study of Muskogean languages, of which the Alibamu are, have found no supporting evidence for that translation. Europeans began exploring the area in the 1500s. Alabama is home to a kind of music known as the Muscle Shoals sound. It's associated with a couple of studios in a part of Alabama known informally as the Shoals. Fame Studios in Muscle Shoals and the Muscle Shoals Sound Studio in Sheffield, Alabama, are home to what is known as the Muscle Shoals Sound. Such artists as Etta James, Wilson Pickett, Aretha Franklin, the Staple Singers, the Rolling Stones, Duane Allman, George Michael, Willie Nelson, Leonard Skinner, Joe Cocker, Lee Von Helm, Paul Simon, Bob Seger, Rod Stewart, and Cat Stevens are just some of the artists, just some of them, who have recorded at one or both of these Muscle Shoals studios in Alabama. Back in the 1800s, there was a boundary dispute between the U.S. state of Ohio and the territory of Michigan along an area known as the Toledo Strip. For the most part, the so-called war consisted simply of disagreement, arguing, and negotiation. There was one report of shots being fired into the air, but no physical casualties resulted from that, and the only bloodshed was from a non-fatal stabbing incident. It certainly could have been worse, and might have become so, but the U.S. Congress stepped in and proposed a compromise where Michigan could become a state, including the Upper Peninsula, if it would give up the Toledo Strip. Seems reasonable to me. Voters in a statehood convention in September of that year, though, thought they were getting a raw deal and rejected the compromise, so there they sat. By December, the territory of Michigan was in financial trouble, and with pressure from Congress and President Andrew Jackson, they called another convention called the Frostbitten Convention, and on December 14, 1836, accepted that compromise and ended the Toledo War. Now this one, disclaimer. Me talking about this or anything like it, I am talking over my head. That said, as I understand it, a concept had been developed all the way back in 1859 known as black body radiation. As scientists studied the concept, they came up with more questions. Of course they did. So Max Planck was thinking about this, and he came up with a hypothesis that energy is radiated and absorbed in discrete, which means separate or divided, energy packets that he called quanta, yielding a calculation that precisely matched the observed patterns of black body radiation. And he presented a theoretical derivation of his black body radiation law, quantum theory, at the Physics Society in Berlin on December 14, 1900. There are plenty more items of interest from December 14th, but we're already running longer than I usually like to, and we still have the song of the day to talk about, so hopefully I've mentioned some of these other subjects in a previous episode for December 14th, and I'll leave a link for you to one of those. We mentioned the Muscle Shoals sound earlier in this episode in our discussion of the state of Alabama and the studios that produced music with this sound. The famed studios in Muscle Shoals and the Muscle Shoals Sound Studio over in Sheffield. Aretha Franklin recorded at the famed studio once in early 1967. The Swampers provided musical accompaniment, and this is when she recorded her hit, I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You. Written by Ronnie Shannon and released in 1967, this one did well in the charts. Man, oh man, could Aretha Franklin sing a song. I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You was the first big hit of her career, making it to the top 10 in the pop charts, number 1 on the rhythm and blues charts. Remarkable artist, Aretha Franklin. I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You by Aretha Franklin. Link in the description. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with a link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoyed this series, check out the playlist that contains these videos, and I'll put a link to that in the description. That description lives on YouTube, so for other platforms, I'll include a link to my blog page that's called No Really. You can also find me on Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey. All those links in that description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again and all. See you next time. This is the birthday.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
I wasn't talking to you. Hi there, and welcome to This Day in History for... Oh, where's your microphone? Okay. We don't want to say the same thing twice. Oh, get your microphone. What is it with you and this microphone? Okay, here we go. Okay, we are still recording. That's great. Okay. How about that? We'll have a lot to edit today. Cacophony is a sound Cacophony is a noun that you got to read it the right way. Let's start over. It's 8 o'clock, so all of the reminders are going to be dinging. I forgot to turn those off. Okay, stop it. It's 8 o'clock. Don't alienate people who can be helpful to you. Flinging happiness all over the place. Alrighty, back to work. I think we got it this time.